fascinating for 10 minutes.
Well, hopefully, like another hour to go.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. When you were talking about slow cookers, I thought you meant me then. I wouldn't work for 0.6p a minute. I mean,
Not a want anymore, it's a need. It's
Yeah.
a need to be sustainable.
yeah, it seems like we've been talking
Yeah.
rather than doing for a long time. It's your show. You're not talking.
No,
much.
it's
Shall I carry
amazing. No,
on?
I just like listening to you.
It's about. Thank you. You're the only one in the world that does.
That's why we booked you.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Swan. I'm joined by Phil Pond from Scarlet Opus. We're at the magnificent Cloud 23 in Manchester in the Hilton building, if no one knows it. Hopefully you can get an amazing view out of the window. Got the Manchester weather for you, if you can see it, all the grey clouds. So Phil, thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for the invite. I'm really looking forward to it.
So where to start? I think if you can maybe explain about who Scarlet Opus are and how your journey with Scarlet Opus started, if that's okay.
Wow. Okay. Let's keep it brief, Philip. Keep it brief. So Scarlet Opus is an insights and trends agency. We provide a view of the future for companies and people that we engage with. It's always quite interesting when you meet somebody for the first time, because I'm sat there saying we can give you an absolute certain view of what will be in 2 to 3 years' time.
Yeah.
I can see in their face that, you know.
I remember pulling that face.
Yes, who let this idiot into the building? Yes, but that's what we do. So we work internationally, primarily with manufacturers, some retailers, and a few trade organisations. We've done less international work over the last couple of years, or less international travel, I should put it that way. That's annoying. But yes, so that's who we are. We operate from Beverley in East Yorkshire. We're not a London-based agency. That was a purposeful decision. I'm from down that way and don't really like it. And it's if you live in the south, I know this is digressing, but if you live in the south of the UK, you can think the country's full. And then you come up to the north and you realise it's empty. And there's actually bucket loads of space.
Quite pleasant, yeah.
Yes. So my journey was I met the founder of Scarlet Opus, Victoria Redshaw, whilst I owned a carpet manufacturing business in the Lake District.
Oh, right.
And we were looking for some colour advice. And it was exciting. It was an exciting world. It was very interesting. I'm not one of the clever people, as you can tell already, probably. But I love talking about the subject. I'm fascinating for 10 minutes.
Well, hopefully, like another hour to go.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm doing my best.
But I've always wondered. I don't think you've ever told us. But where does the name Scarlet Opus come from?
Yeah, Victoria. That was Victoria's choice. She'd already founded the business, but actually, it's a really smart choice. So, scarlet is generally recognised as a colour of passion, and she in the beginning, but all of us now are genuinely really passionate about the company and what we do.
Yeah.
And opus is a word that describes one's best work. So, generally speaking, something to do with music.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do. So we're really passionate about what we do, and we always try to give of our best on every project we do, whether it's large or small. So Scarlet Opus.
Great name.
Nothing to do with trend forecasting.
Yeah, but no, it's a great name, isn't it? Love what you do almost, isn't it? And it's become a bit of a cliche. But so if you were... So obviously you've explained it to me before previously, but if you were starting on, I don't know, let's looking into the future, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, what does that journey start for you guys? What do you do? I mean, without giving away all your trade secrets, obviously.
Oh, we don't have any. Here's for all the watchers and listeners. Here's an O-level in trend forecasting coming up. Let's try and get that done. So we spend. With a team of freelancers and the team that we have at Scarlet Opus, we spend a lot. We spend a lot of time watching about what's going on around the world now before we start to research the future. So it's always important to have your starting point if you're going to try and give someone a view or a vision of what 3 years from now is going to look like. You need to know where everyone is right now.
Yeah, of course.
So that takes quite a bit of time. The most interesting phase is phase 3, which is where we do research practically everything that is life on Earth. And that sounds really grand, doesn't it? And it is, and it's really interesting. That's the bit I really like, the research bit. So we're looking at what will happen in film and TV 3 years, 5 years from now, what will be happening in the world of science and medicine, what will be going on in politics, what's that direction, literally everything, sport, everything and anything that will have an influence or an impact on how we choose to live.
Yeah.
More importantly, researching what will be. It's your show. You're not talking.
No, it's amazing. No, I just like listening to you.
It's about. Thank you. You're the only one in the world that does.
That's why we booked you.
Yeah. So thank you. It was because I was free. Be honest. It's trying to discover what will be happening 3 years from now that will influence how we behave, how we think, and how we feel. Because once we get a good picture of that, people are going to be feeling like this and thinking that because these things are going on. It's then, with the experience that the team has, not such a big leap to decide, well, that means we'll want to surround ourselves with these things.
Yeah.
Obviously, technology is playing a bigger part in all of that.
Yeah, there was something you mentioned last time we met about, I think it was James Cameron, and how film affects like trends going forward. Are you allowed to tell that story? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
It's just I found that like amazingly fascinating.
Yeah, I did too. I still do.
Yeah.
Excited.
Because no one would think that film has that big an impact on your life.
It's massive, and particularly. It's particularly this director with the Avatar series of movies. Yeah. There are going to be 4 in total. The second, it's been delayed and delayed and delayed because he hasn't been able to do things that he wanted to do to produce the movie. But
bit of a perfectionist.
It is due out later at the back end of this year, but whether it will be delayed again or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
It was an important movie purely because the first one. Sorry, if I put these building blocks in order, it makes a bit more sense. Which is not something I'm used to doing. So movies tend to reinforce a trend. So when a movie comes out and we all go and watch it, it might be the scenery or the decor or something else happening on screen that influences what we then go out and do or want to think and feel at the time.
Yeah.
Movies don't cause trends. They cause fads, short-term fads, unicorns, stuff like that.
Why Marvel released so many films, probably.
There you go. But the first Avatar movie, you might remember, overnight totally changed the colour and application of makeup, particularly eye makeup.
Yeah.
And a movie hasn't done that, to my knowledge, to trends before.
Yeah.
So we've kept a very close eye on what's he doing with the other 3 movies. And the second movie will be set underwater. He's a fascinating director. He has spent a small country's GDP on pushing the world of technology to produce things in order that he can do things for his movie.
Yeah.
So it isn't just spending on scenery and actors. He had the world of technology create a submarine for him.
Yeah, so he's pushing boundaries.
All the time. And as an individual, he's gone deeper into the world's oceans than other human beings, researching for the what it was like down there, obviously for the movie. Yeah. He wants it to be realistic. So for one thing, we know when the movie comes out, it'll influence a colour palette, for example, and that colour palette, now everybody knows. I've just given away all of our report for the next 3 weeks. Yeah. Anyway, no, kidding. So that colour palette will be, if you imagine films or documentaries you've watched about under the ocean, it gets darker and darker and darker from a very white blue at the top to a blue black at the bottom. Yes. But then on the way down, you see creatures that are neon pink or neon yellow and or translucent in some way. Anyway, he came across an immortal lobster I quite like that idea, to be honest.
Immortal lobster, yeah.
Yeah, so when this lobster mates, it regenerates itself back to its beginnings. I'm working on it. Anyway, so that, of course, has got the world of medicine looking to say, well, if the lobster can do that, what's in that we can discover that might help humans from a health viewpoint. So it's a movie that we expect to more than influence trends. The colour palette will reinforce colours that are happening now, for example. But as I say, the world of technology's benefited from the movie. The world of medicine will benefit from the movie. And if we flip what's under the ocean, the colour palette, it's weird actually, but the colour palette going from the bottom of the deepest ocean, shooting through the water, through the surface, and then out into space, and the colour palette almost repeats itself.
Yeah, strange, isn't it?
In the opposite direction. Another fact I find fascinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that kind of thing that we discover. And as I say, that's the 10-minute. I'm a great 10-minute dinner guest.
No, that's great. But I think so. Then you think the colour palette will be obviously deep sea, but then also evolve then into space.
Yeah, because the colour palette's more or less the same. So the dark blues that we see now will remain popular. Black is beginning to re-emerge as a very popular colour, and that will continue. We see wood tones darkening. We'll see kitchen design.
Is this the return of the walnut dash then from the 80s in cars then maybe?
Yeah, may well be. Yeah, may well be. Obviously, the cars of the future, not that long from now. See, I'm off in a different direction already. Come back, Phillips. But the cars will be more like lounges because obviously we won't be driving them.
Yes,
so that
more relaxing.
It'll all be a lot safer out there.
Yes, and easier to get around.
Yes. So dark woods, walnut.
So what role do you think social media has in affecting trends? Because that's obviously been a big thing in the last sort of... Yes, it's been around for 10, 15 years, but probably more influencing probably in the last 6 or 7. Does that have a big role to play in it?
It's a good question, actually, David. Social media...
Or is it more reacting to what's going around?
Social media is a bit like the movies in the sense that it won't cause a trend, but it will reinforce or perhaps influence the shape of a trend. All trend agencies, but I can speak about Scarlet Opus, obviously. So 10 years ago, when we were doing our research, we'd spend a lot of time watching the TV or online, finding out what CNN are saying or what BBC was reporting. You heard it here first. They have become, of course, not necessarily reliable, factual sources anymore.
Yeah.
So for us, social media is a really important aspect of research now to find out factually what's going on in the world right now.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying that the world's media isn't giving us the full facts. They're just giving us a version
of course,
of the truth, which I guess is a hot subject, has been since Donald Trump introduced
it.
So, so social media for us is really important to find out what do the citizens of the world think and feel now. What's being brought to their attention? What are they expressing opinions about? What is that opinion? Who are they collaborating with and where? Because obviously with social media we can now find groups instantly in contact with each other around the world, which is fascinating as well. Quite like that word this morning. I've got to find another one in a minute. It's awesome. People connecting from all different corners of the world on the same subject, which before we'd have only been able to get CNN's view of it.
Yeah, exactly. Or the BBC's, one of the questions here is, in the world of kitchen and home appliances, what is the current trend that you'd have probably seen a while ago? And I know, again, it's probably not just to home and kitchen, but you touched on it with me a few months ago. But sustainability, I think, isn't just an idea anymore.
Yeah. We made, as a company, as a trend agency, we made a specific and purposeful decision probably last year, I guess, that we must stop including a sustainability trend in our reports, because we are perhaps therefore guilty of exacerbating or adding to the view that sustainability is a trend, and it isn't.
Yeah, like it's going to go out of fashion almost. Yeah.
So it's a new way of life, and if it isn't a new way of life, you and I won't be doing this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the future.
Yeah.
So sustainability is, as I say, a new way of life, and we've stopped having, if there are 3 or 4 trend stories at any given time that we report on at a macro level, one of them used to be a sustainability trend.
Yeah.
What happens, of course, is that sustainability runs through all trend stories.
And rightly so now.
Absolutely. In the last couple of years have made us all think more deeply about it, and become more aware of it, I suppose.
Yeah. And it's not just a sort of a want anymore, it's a need. It's a need to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Again, from our side, COVID probably hasn't helped, but all the extra stuff we're having to do in China now from a packaging point of view, the government's introducing plastic tax, I think from this month or last month, plastic tax comes into force. You've got to use a certain percentage of recycled cardboard now. I mean, the only problem that we see is all the councils are very, very different in what they do and what they can recycle. It's not, for whatever reason, the UK is not joined up on, in Liverpool they have pink bin or purple bins, in St Helens just down the road they have brown bins, they're all doing the same thing. It's just, there doesn't seem to be a joined up message from a government point of view. But all the pressure, I'm going to steal one of your stories, but did you tell us a story about where the word litterbug came from?
No.
You did, didn't you?
No.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. But I'd love to hear it.
I think it was in the 60s it came up. It was an American campaign on recycling, but it was the brand, I can't remember the brand now, it might have been Coca-Cola or somebody like that, but putting the emphasis then onto the consumer to tidy up rather than having to worry about them recycling or doing whatever. So the onus is always put on the consumer, whereas the brands or the government or whatever have been almost taking a back seat on it. And I feel that now with everything that's happening, it's finally at a point now where everybody's having to get involved. Like I said, the government is forcing it. The problem is, for instance, I don't know if we can even include this, we might have to edit this out, but when we talk to a Chinese factory and we say, look, we need to move to recycled packaging or recycled plastic because effectively there'll be a duty rate or a tax on the plastic and it'll be X amount per kilo or whatever. Chinese factory will just say, it's just easier just to pay it. Yeah. But that's not the point. It's about the messaging. It's about the sustainable message. People are whether it's the Gen Zs or the millennials, they're all about that now, and it's so important for us as a brand to stay on top of that. I know the retailers are putting a lot of pressure on now. We're getting new sorts of guides off all the big retailers saying we must do this by this point. We need your roadmap of sustainability. So it is it definitely feels like the right point. But personally, I feel like we've almost been talking about this since I was at school in the 80s. It feels like it's always been something there. But, it's only now, really, I feel like we're actually starting to do something. Yeah,
I agree with you. It seems like we've been talking rather than doing for a long time. I think, obviously, the events of the last 2 years gave everybody time to experience a different world.
Yeah,
a world without all the traffic and all the noise and stuff like that. So that made us all more conscious of things. I think many, many more. For one, I was one of the idiots that thought if I do all the recycling properly at home, the local authority are taking care of all of that. I didn't realise they were just shipping it to a beach somewhere else in the world. I didn't realise that if I did all the recycling of, say, 7 different types, they can't deal with that. I didn't even know you can't recycle black coloured objects.
Because
the equipment doesn't recognise it. So I think more people, including me, are aware of those things now. What the last couple of years has done is fast forward that subject in the minds of everybody. And poor old business, if there is such a phrase, business had caught up with where the consumer, where we as people were on that subject. And now business is way behind again. Because it's been fast forward.
It's absolutely leapt forward. I mean, we're looking into, I think it's like vegetable inks and stuff like that now for packaging, because we did last year. We were looking at, and it feels almost like cliche because it's happened so quickly. But we were looking at going back to almost brown boxes with a single colour just to make that sustainable point. But I feel that's almost been done to death in a year already. So now we're looking at how can we make our product pop on the packaging without using, high gloss finish and all that kind of stuff, using, recyclable ink, making sure that the cardboard, whatever council it is in the UK is recycling it. But it's just such a long drawn out process. And then again, you've got the Chinese side of it, where a lot of goods are produced where they're not really bothered. They're just, it's almost like the 18th century philosophy that we had as a country. They're just churning stuff out. It doesn't really matter about the problem. So it's going to be an interesting.
It is. It's interesting actually when people talk about. Do you know? I say, do you know? As if I was an authority on it. Some of the most advanced projects with regard to the environment and climate are in China.
Yeah.
It simply isn't. It's a lot of things, and I'm not an expert on China. What I do know is that it isn't the single polluter that we portray it as. There's some tremendous projects on that particular subject there. I think we focus on, because of dear old David Attenborough, thank goodness, we focus on plastic.
Yeah.
And we've been focused on plastic, and we've done very little about all the other stuff. And I don't, for what it's worth, Victoria will probably say, "Why did you say that on camera?" I think we can forget plastic now, because plastic's on the road to being an untouchable product.
Yeah.
It isn't about recycling it. It isn't about it being recyclable. It's about not producing any more of it.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that not a lot of recycling of it actually goes on, because manufacturing processes can't necessarily handle that.
Yeah, and it's almost too expensive as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we read a lot about, this is a plastics, but it's recyclable. Great. Who's doing the recycling? Well, not very many people. So I think plastic's on the way out, which allows us, all of us, to then focus on much broader and more things like food.
Yes.
No, I'm not about to go off on a quest about
we
shouldn't be eating meat. But I think we're all realising we should eat less meat.
Yeah.
We should have a more biodiverse countryside around us, and our back gardens should have a little wild. So we're focusing on a lot broader things. And I think personally, a company like Swan, I think you're in a great position, i.e. in people's homes, where you can help and advise and guide and inspire people way outside your product portfolio. Because you're in the home.
Yes. Yeah, because one of the things we've been looking into, and it's never something we've ever, in my 20 years of doing this, we've ever looked at it, but it's how much it costs to run an appliance.
Yeah. Because
that is a hot topic at the minute.
Yeah.
Things like a slow cooker will cost you 3 to 6p an hour. It's whatever litre is, 3 litre, 6 litre, depending on how many, who you're cooking for, versus turning on an oven that's 30 odd litres, of space. It's a big saving to be had there.
Yeah.
Air fryers are all the rage at the minute, and one of the added bonuses which people didn't realise at the time is you're just basically heating a much smaller oven, so the cooking time's shorter.
Right.
So you're running it for less, but again you're not heating up that 35 litres of oven space. So I think that's something we have to look into more. Previously it was just about the wattage and all that kind of stuff, but actually we're, now people have got smart meters in the homes. We're actively trying to research how much it costs. Even is it worthwhile having a kettle?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Because even if you versus putting in a microwave or heating it on a pan and things like that actually consumes way more energy than it would do in a kettle. Although a kettle's quite extreme for a minute. But it's all that kind of stuff. So, again, the consumers want to be more informed now of what they're buying and all that kind of stuff. So so it is a really interesting time.
Yeah. When you were talking about slow cookers, I thought you meant me then. I wouldn't work for 0.6p a minute. I mean.
So we're going into summer, as you can see by the weather, Phil.
Yeah, great.
What do we need in our garden? Because obviously the garden's now becoming a big extension of the home.
It is.
That was one of the big trends I guess you saw coming a few years ago. But
yeah, well, I think everybody's aware of it now, aren't they? You don't have to be a trend forecaster to have heard the phrase, let's take the outdoors, indoors and indoors outside and all that kind of stuff, and conservatories. But I think it's... where we're headed to with that, I don't mean we, I mean all of us, the home and garden's taken on a renewed importance for us. Of course, it's always been important, but the events of the last 2 years have been responsible for such a lot, including all of us realising that we're safe and comfortable in our homes and gardens. And actually, there's a lot going on in the garden that we never noticed before. When all the traffic disappeared and there was no noise except ourselves, we were sat in the gardens for the last 2 years and we could hear things that we hadn't heard before. I at that time, I lived in the middle of a town, literally in the middle. I had no idea that the little sparrow birds were in the town centre. They were all over the place. Butterflies, I mean, obviously you see them, but you don't see them in a town centre as such.
Absolutely,
So that was interesting. And of course, because we were educating kids at home, that was a great part of the education, showing kids how to grow stuff, what vegetables were, how they grew, how they came about. And in doing all of that, you see insects that kids would never really interact with. So all of those things are important. What it means is that, you know, we start to refer to the garden as a fifth room. So it is now just another room. And what we're going to find, particularly in the UK, but across the world, but interestingly in the UK, because we're a 4-season country from a weather viewpoint, we're all going to want to spend more of the year in the garden or having that fifth room as a possibility. So it's a great opportunity for the business supply chain into the garden, because all the old furniture that my mum used to have and we'd sit on in the garden, that's not acceptable anymore. We want the same comfort in the garden as we've got indoors. We're all working from, a lot of people are working from home now. So we don't want to keep getting up to go back inside to recharge devices. So there's lots of product possibility of moving an internal room outside in its entirety, so that it fits the styling of the person that lives inside. It gives the same comfort, you can do the same things, and you can do it all year round.
Because it's almost like, I think, again, probably 10, 15 years ago, no one knew what a bifold door was. But the trend almost is at the minute, isn't it? The whole back of the house almost opens up. And the same tile that you'll probably have in the kitchen, or that kitchen diner that you've got at the back of the house, it's the same tile now. It spills past the bifold doors and out onto the patio, if that's even the right word for it anymore. It's
rugs, outdoor rugs, a big item right now, and they will continue to be so, because rugs define an area. So this bit of my garden is where we all sit together and have a chat, because that's what a rug says. Over there, that's where we grow stuff and we eat it, and that's going to become a much stronger trend. Grow your own, particularly now as times get tough and get tough for a long time. So growing our own food, knowing where that food comes from, that's an important aspect for all of us now. The provenance of the product itself, the produce. But of course, obviously, we're going to be able to grow stuff more cheaply, considerably, than we're going to be able to buy it. And because we're going to have less money, that's going to be more important. And it won't really matter. And I think this is important for the supply chain into the home and the garden. Doesn't matter if you rent a home or own a home, there's not any difference anymore. We all want our home to look the way we want it to, whether it's ours or not. And you know, in all honesty, do I own my own home, or does the bank own it anyway?
No, exactly.
You know, what's the difference between the bank and a landlord? Probably not a lot. So I think to go back to your original question, ages ago that was very,
too far along ago.
Shut up, God, so the home and the garden itself, really important. It's going to be a holiday resort. It's going to be a school. It's going to be a restaurant. It's going to be a pub. It's going to be a cafe. It's going to be an office. It's going to be all those things. And it'll have to do that for longer in the year.
Yeah, and I think there was something, again, you mentioned last time you came to see us, and it was almost like, I feel like we're getting to that point now. It's almost the rebirth of the dinner party. Because I remember my mum and dad doing dinner parties again in the 90s, and then in my 20s and all that, people haven't really done it again. But I feel like it's just on the horizon again. People going to people's houses. It's not just about having drinks now. It's about having a meal or cooking or trying the latest recipe or whatever it is. And I feel that, am I right?
It's really, really interesting to me, and it will be to the team when I tell them, that you should say that. So in 2018, when we were delivering reports on trends for 2020, we reported a trend that we called at the time the Traveller, and it was to emerge over the autumn-winter of 2021.
Yeah.
2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And it was all about going into the 20s, because of course it's been delayed for obvious reasons, but we're all alive now. We have an opportunity to relive our own version of the Roaring '20s, and that's quite a privilege. It comes around every so often, 100 years, I gather. So I won't be here for the next one. But so
depends on the lobster.
Yeah, depends. Oh, actually, yeah, depends on the good thinking. There's hope for me. Yeah, I like that. Let me write that one down. So we were reporting this trend, and part of it was the resurgence of fine dining.
Yeah.
And we did begin to see in New York a couple of fine dining restaurants open. Mm-hmm. And it isn't that fine dining disappeared. It's just that not many of us bothered, because casual dining...
That was an explosion, wasn't it?
It's just everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if I go out with my wife for a special night, she spends 3 hours making herself look really lovely for herself, but for me, and I smarten myself up by putting on a jacket with jeans, and I might put a tie, and that's casual dining.
Yeah.
So there was to be a resurgence. There is. It's just been delayed.
Yes.
And what we might now see is, rather than a growth of fine dining in restaurants, we'll most certainly see lots of us wanting to create fine dining experiences at home for dinner parties.
Yeah.
The real difference between when my mum and gran did that, bless them, they were doing it to show the neighbours what they had.
Yes.
Show the friends what they had. When it happens this time round, when you invite me to a dinner party, it'll be because your motivation is much more likely to be to give a really nice time and a really nice experience to your friends and family. It won't be about
more of the social.
I've got.
Yes, more for the social. And also, after the last 2 years, I guess it's even more important. So it probably accelerates it off the back of COVID, I guess.
Yeah. So it's just been delayed,
Yeah.
and we've still got time to live the 20s. And what I think about it, David, there's a great opportunity for Swan to engage with all your followers and all your fans that you want to engage with. Many under 35s, some will, many under 35s won't know how to set a table for fine dining. So there's a great podcast or blog for somebody.
Definitely, yeah.
How does that look?
Yeah.
Because at some
Start
point...
from the outside in.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a thing. We want to do fine dining. We'll love the experience, but we won't quite know how to do that.
Interesting you said that. We were at an awards ceremony, and a lot of the team were there, but a lot of people didn't know that the bread roll was on the left.
Bread roll, there's a place for the wine glass.
Yeah.
There's the work yourself from the outside of the cutlery in.
Yeah.
Somebody should tell that to half the casual dining establishments in the world right now, because I've had the dessert spoon. I don't know what the right place is either, to be honest, but it's an experience that's going to be much more popular than it has been, and many of us won't know how to do it properly.
Back to the trends then. What's a time that
Stop wobbling on. Let's get back to the trends.
But what's a timeless trend that you love? Has there been one that you think that's just been around forever, or pretty much forever, and it's been like ebbed and flowed? Or
well, that's interesting. I think for everybody, there's something that never goes out of
is that because it's
fashion,
because
or
something you've loved, or it's touched a moment in your life, maybe?
I think.
It's
probably
almost like a music thing, almost. So like my love of, let's say we're in Manchester, I love Oasis, but I was a teenager in the 90s, they were massive, so anytime I hear it, it almost like transports you back. So I guess that any trend that was around then. Yeah,
I guess so. It's it's a really good question, and I'm not sure what a direct answer from a business viewpoint. From a personal viewpoint, from a business viewpoint, trends are, of course, cyclical.
Yes.
For interiors, probably 25 to 30 years as a cycle.
Yeah.
What's an example? Green, the colour green, trite, useless example, but an example nonetheless. Green is so popular now for all sorts of reasons, but it hadn't been popular since the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone nuts now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So trends in that sense are cyclical from a colour pattern and all the stuff like that point of view. But for some people, of course, green never went out of fashion because they love it and it was their favourite colour. So I think things last forever for some of us. I'm trying to think what's lasted forever for me.
I feel like grey's been around. I mean, it's not, but grey's been around forever.
Why did you think of grey when I said about me? That's nice.
I'm just trying to think, because we've been saying that we feel that green is now becoming the new grey. That was the almost like the must-have colour in the home. So
yeah.
I feel like over the last 5 or 6 years, grey's been a phenomenally successful colour for us. But we've had grey in retro, for instance, and in Nordic for a while, and we're seeing that the numbers are just. So we have quite a few colour palettes in retro.
Yeah.
But green was like, let's say, number 6, but it's now up to number 3. Grey's been number 1 for a while now, but we feel that green is really on the march.
Yeah, I mean, grey, you can consider that a classic colour now.
Yeah.
It won't go away.
Yeah.
Some shades of it will be more popular than other through periods of time as colours go light and dark and back to light sort of thing. Green is a very, very literal connection with Mother Nature.
Yeah. Amazing.
There we are, gentlemen.
Oh, that looks fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham.
Yeah,
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thanks so much.
It does look nice, actually, doesn't it?
Wow. Do you want to read out what we've got?
Do I want to read it?
Yeah. Do you want to read it? Or do you want me to read it?
No, you carry on, because it's got a couple of different French words in it. I'd rather you did that than
I
me.
know there was a whole thing, was it, in one of the other podcasts where it was one of the guests only recently found out it wasn't Camembert's cheese.
Right.
It's just amazing. But this is the dinner party coming back, hopefully.
Exactly.
We'll sort this
That's
out.
the point.
So in the savoury section, we've got egg mayonnaise, chicken coronation, sweet chili tuna mayonnaise, chickpea hummus, and feta cheesecake. That's all the savouries here. And then on the sweet, we've got choux bun, macaron, as I think it was Emma on the last one, tiramisu, and a chocolate torte. So yeah, dig in.
The Hilton know how to do an
Yeah,
afternoon
they do,
tea,
don't they? Yeah. So this is, I'm assuming this is like their classic afternoon tea. Should we have a spot of tea first?
I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to share that just now, but now I couldn't care less.
There's 2 of everything, isn't there, I think?
This is one of those teapots. No, it's not. Excellent.
It's dripping. Mine's dripping a bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like those stainless steel ones where it goes all everywhere except in the cup.
Yeah, it just goes like that. Yeah.
Shall I be mother? I like that.
I was waiting for
I'd
someone
like
to
to
say
say
that.
that. Yeah.
So we were talking about green,
We were
Before
talking
food
about
came.
green, yes, and
about how relaxing it is, I think.
yes, it's psychologists around the world will tell you that when we see green, we associate green with life and hope. So at a very primitive level, when a human being has seen green, we've known there's food and there's water.
Yeah.
So it's on a primitive level, as I say, it's a colour that makes a literal connection, and we're all really, really wanting much more connection with nature. It gives us a bit of comfort, a bit of reassurance, those sorts of things.
I think there's been the rebirth of the houseplant as well.
Yeah, the trick for manufacturers, Swan included, is
This is so good, by the way. I think this is coronation chicken.
is it? Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you can talk in a minute. I'll stop waving these about. What was I saying now? See, I've forgotten that now.
Houseplant.
House.
The trick for the manufacturers.
Ah, yeah. So the trick for the thanks for that. Yeah, trick for the manufacturers.
I do
is,
listen.
Yeah, that's good proof. The trick for the manufacturers is that usually when we've seen products in green in times gone by, it's very obviously a horrible synthetic green.
Yeah.
So to produce products now, to have that literal connection, you've really got to get the shade of green right. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be real and natural, and not that bright, like the colour of that tape that nobody can see other than you and I down there.
Neon.
Yeah, that sort of green doesn't work. And if you look outside, just across Manchester there now, apart from the colourful train going through on the set that I should have switched off, there's all different shades of green. So there's no excuse for getting that wrong, really. There's plenty of greens to choose from in the natural world without making our own.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting fact as well. When we were
Fine dining, I didn't know we used these.
Yeah, you can tuck it in if you want at the top.
I didn't know that's what it was for.
We have had guests tuck it in at the top as well, just in case. But no, you don't have to.
I've got one myself now. I did know somebody that had a buttonhole there.
Oh,
and
wow.
would button it in there when they were eating pasta.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
Excellent idea. Because I can guarantee that in the last 5 years, I don't think I've eaten a meal without getting something on me. I don't know why. Messy eater? I don't know. Anyway. Pot place down there, noisily. What did you try?
The coronation chicken, this one.
Right.
Very nice. So when we were creating the retro range again, I feel like it was only 4 years ago, but it's probably, when we were talking about trends, how do they go out of fashion? Retro has been a perfect example because
this is acting at its best, you know that.
Yeah. So wasn't that interesting fact again? That was it Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11? Every scene he's eating something. Because apparently it's the hardest thing to do is acting and eating at the same time.
What don't you know? What don't you know?
I know, yeah. So back to the retro range. So I think it was about 8 years ago when we created it. And retro probably doesn't go out of fashion because, again, back to that whole timeless retro, like it does ebb and flow, but that's what we try to do is reinvent it with the colours. And then we had such difficulty colour matching green.
Yep.
Well, it was only when we really researched it, we found out that the human eye can notice more shades of green than any other colour.
Right.
And it dates back to primate times when you were looking for an enemy or something within the trees or jungles or whatever. That's where it came from. So colour matching the green. So when we were using colour meters, it might only be 0.5% out, but to your eye, it looked poles apart.
Yeah.
Whereas if you went to another colour, let's say blue, for instance, it could be 10% out, and you couldn't even notice it. So interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But then back to the retro, so we relaunched yellow, mellow yellow, last year.
Good choice.
Yeah. Somebody recommended to us. I can't remember who it was, some trend agency. And obviously, thank you, we won the award, I think, last year, didn't we, for it? And what I've liked ever since is every time you see something yellow on TV, you'll send me a link to it going, told you so. Told you so.
It's just as you got the confirmation, really.
Yeah. It was really interesting because once I've started getting in, like looking at trends for the last couple of years, like been talking to you, it's amazing how often you see it, like the green. I start noticing the background in homes, on TV shows and all that kind of stuff, because that's really where the trends are coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, the yellow thing was really interesting on was it Strictly Come Dancing, I think, wasn't it?
It was.
Yellow was the focus colour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the opening shots and the opening dance, and it was noticeable in as much that I think it was only the female dancer that was dressed in yellow. Everything else
was black and white, wasn't it?
Was black and white.
Yeah. What do you think of the coronation?
Yeah, it's really good. I was actually musing over what you said about Brad Pitt. Not putting myself in, actually Brad Pitt putting himself in my shoe. Anyway, it is hard because just as you said that, I was slurping tea on mic, and I realised then that's coming out. Yeah, so it's very, very difficult, as you say, to do both. We were getting the hang of it now.
It's amazing. One sandwich in.
I don't know what he's worried about. For 20 million quid a movie, I can drink tea on film.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's having to re-eat the same thing over and over again for each take. What else have we got then?
That's another thing, isn't it? Really, if you had to get, if you tried 20 times to get something right in your job and you didn't, you wouldn't be here now, would you? So why can he have 20 takes? I'm not suggesting
is
he
that
did.
Different angles, maybe, or they try different things to them when they edit it together to see what works.
I prefer it when it's left as a direct thing
you think,
about it. Yeah, Yeah.
Almost like one take, move on.
No, I mean, like you were trying to make things easy on Brad Pitt then. I just wanted to criticise him.
Oh, right.
Didn't mean it, Brad.
Yeah, obviously we watch it.
Yeah,
Big fan of the show.
Uses a lot of Swan products.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to try. I think this is the feta cheesecake with the radish. I don't know how I'm supposed to eat that.
Well, yeah.
Like, how can I eat that?
I think I'll carry on talking for quite a while. You're going to need an extra few seconds to wipe it from your nose.
I wasn't to eat it in one. I think I might use the cutlery on that. Oh, it tastes nice though. That must be the feta cheesecake, yeah.
Wow, here we go. How is it? Soft and creamy.
Yeah.
Didn't drop it. That's good. I won't try that one.
Oh, it's nice.
Now. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, it's just not an easy eat though, is it? That's the only thing. It's probably a little bit too high.
I thought you did really, really well. In fact, you did so well, I'm not going to bother.
The other one on the end, which you probably got there, is the egg mayonnaise. I'm not
I'll
an egg
try
person.
that.
I'm not an egg person on a sandwich, so
Because this is the one that's guaranteed
to go everywhere.
to
seen
squirt
what I'm
all
eating?
over my nice shirt. Well, it's nice in my view, anyway. You hadn't actually commented on it yet so far. Oh, never mind.
I don't know how you managed to do it, but you've got egg cress in your hair already.
Have I really? Yeah.
Well, edit that out though.
That would. Yeah. Yeah, I crashed into the mic as I picked up that as well. So, crew are very tolerant around here, aren't they?
I know, yeah.
Like it,
I mean,
yeah. Excellent.
We said
That's their mention for the film.
We said you feel bad for them because you've got the headphones on, and they just go
Yeah.
in the microphone for the next half an hour. So how do you keep something trending? I mean, I know, like you said, it goes in cycles, but is there a way? Do you think
No.
is there a technique?
No, not at all. All we do is, or any agency in our business, we don't create trends. We don't start them, stop them. We merely identify and report them. So, in your field, say the home and garden, trends can have a longevity of, in the volume market, 5 years.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're selling kitchens, I'm not suggesting everyone has their kitchen redone every 5 years. But you might have some doors changed, or you might change some flooring or something,
tweak it slightly
to change the look. And of course, many people, my gran had carpet. What was it called? Axminster carpet. I owned a factory for carpets, and I couldn't even remember that Axminster carpet. She had the same carpet on the stairs for forever.
Yeah.
I think so. Trends are not necessarily something to follow.
Yeah.
Trends, in their truest sense, happen. We can't stop them happening.
Yeah.
In business, you don't have to work with them, but it helps if you're aware of them.
Yeah.
Because you can't stop them happening. If Scarlet Opus decided it wasn't going to be a trend agency tomorrow, all the things that we identified and researched that would be happening 3 to 5 years from now will happen.
Yeah.
And they will still cause that shift in behaviour of society in general. And that shift in behaviour will push us, the citizens of the earth, to want certain things. But we do also talk about quite often, worryingly, we talk about trends are becoming fewer, lasting longer. When will we foresee the end of trend forecasting? Because
So everything suddenly becomes a trend. Is that what you mean, or
nothing does?
Yeah. Almost like everything's been done. Almost, you've run out.
If you think over the last couple of years, we're reporting it at the moment because business isn't aware of it as such, and it needs to be, or our clients do. People are becoming more eco-conscious with their purchases. Let's take that as an example. So we're buying less. All of us, and it doesn't matter how much disposable income we've got. We all want the best for whatever money we've got. We want the best we can afford.
Yeah.
And we're becoming more and more selective on what we buy, where we buy it, who we buy it from, why we buy it.
Is that the death of entry price point then, maybe? Because people want something to last. I mean, price point's been such a key thing, certainly in supermarkets and all that kind of stuff. If you want your product to last longer, do you then maybe look for a brand rather than...
The only reason I hesitate, David, is...
I'm only playing devil's advocate anyway.
Yeah. And a good one. A very good devil's advocate.
Thank you.
The only reason I hesitate is that when business, not you, when business talks about an entry price point, what business forgets is that's the best somebody can afford.
Yeah.
So maybe business needs to think about the words it uses. Because if I'm spending... a business might have that plate at a £2 entry rate, and my brother, who's much richer than me, wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
But I might be buying it for that fine dining experience I'm going to create, because that's what
It's all relative.
That's where I'm at. Yeah. It is relative. So I think we have to be, from here forward, I think business needs to be a little bit more careful with the wording it chooses, because it will prevent purchases.
Yeah, because again, a while ago, I'll let you eat now.
Sure, I mean.
Again, 10 years ago. 10 years
Sorry.
ago. 10
But the
years
eggs
ago.
all over the plate. Can you see that? Look.
Yeah.
See?
So 10 years ago, I think we removed the word
That's Graham.
essential from our essentials range almost, because that was almost seen as the entry. And again, it was, you don't want to pigeonhole a customer into the essential range, maybe if that's all they can afford. So, but then the other thing is with the entry price point thing, which is really interesting. I heard this great quote about entry price point, and they said the problem with entry price point is it is a race to the bottom, and the problem with that is you might win.
Yeah.
and it's so true.
Yeah, business obviously has to make where do I put that now? Business obviously needs to make a profit in order to, I mean, that's what it's about.
Yes.
But if we're all buying less because we're being more selective, you can't afford to prevent a sale simply by making me feel bad about what I might purchase when you want to sell it to me anyway.
Yeah.
So if we're... Actually, I quite like a word that I think describes what I think the thought process should be. I think, my opinion. And that word's kindness.
Yeah.
If we all consider what language we're going to use with kindness, we will try to avoid embarrassing or offending anyone.
Yeah.
And then for me, that becomes better.
Yeah.
So the good, better, best idea of products. The worst product I can buy is a good one.
Yes.
So kindness. If we can introduce kindness more generally to business, I think we'll get the language.
It feels like that's on the way as well, because even just from an internally, you see again on LinkedIn, you see a lot of it. But the employee, and I think again it's more of a millennial style business or Gen Z. That millennial, like the whole working from home thing, and the old school way of doing things, and even just the amount it's changed in the last 10 years, let alone the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The workplace is completely different now. You know, HR used to be, what did it used to be called before HR? Personnel, yeah, that was it. I remember doing personnel studies or something at university.
Yeah.
And it's changed, like it always used to be back the business, but now HR should always back the employee and whatever's going on.
It's ridiculous though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I get that it's about human relations.
Yeah.
But there was nothing wrong with the word personnel.
No, I know.
You know what I mean, it was just somebody somewhere. It's business buzzwords.
But now it's like, it's almost, you've got to be like the head of culture now or something like that rather than HR.
Yeah. Those. So I think sometimes, well, not sometimes, actually quite a lot, when we're all at work, we just use language that's work language.
Yes.
For whatever, and there used to be comedians making a living out of how policemen speak, and now we all speak oddly.
Yeah.
You know, just keep it real.
Yeah.
A bit more natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any chance to have another plate? Is that all right? And the knife and stuff. Only because what I did is I want to try the scone. So I don't really want to get it covered in.
Oh, you got a.
I think my teapot's leaking. Look, it is.
You sure it's not from the drip?
There wasn't any drip.
Do you want a new plate?
Nothing down there. Look.
Try it.
Nothing. It's dry.
Do you want
It's
another
okay.
plate? Or are you okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That the hummus, by the way. Hummus, was it hummus?
Which one is
Chickpea
that?
hummus and red pepper
Is
relish.
that this one?
The one nearest to you, yeah. That was nice.
Right.
Enjoyed that one. I'm not a big tuna person either, so I think I'll give
I
that
might give Brad Pitt a call because I've got the hang of this.
I know.
Might move into coaching.
What you want to do is when you're eating, what was it before? What was it you having before? Oh, when you're eating egg mayo.
Egg mayo. That was a bit squirty. I needed the fork to finish that one off.
I'm going to dive into the scone now, I think. That's all right.
Yeah, you dive into it.
I'm trying to think if we've got any more questions. Do you want to get onto the funny ones?
Charming. Yes, please.
So, I've only obviously...
Yeah. Are you telling me after all this time I've just been making myself laugh? Brilliant.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. No, it was really good. So while you're eating that, it's game time.
You did that on purpose.
No.
You did that on purpose.
I like that one though.
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Yeah. So it's game time.
Okay.
We're going to play a little game of this or that. So which one do you
Whichever
prefer?
you
basically?
prefer.
Yeah. Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Pastel colours or vibrant colours?
Vibrant colours. I know it doesn't look like it, but that would be my answer if I hadn't.
It's more of a
come like
statement,
this
isn't it, I
today.
guess?
Yeah.
What else have we got here? Coffee or tea? I think I know the answer to this.
Tea.
Yeah.
Mm.
A TV series or a film?
It'll have to be a film. I don't have or watch TV.
Don't you know?
No.
For a trend person, you don't watch the latest Netflix.
I haven't had a TV for. See, now there's a newness, a new thing, isn't it? Like when you say TV and someone says, "Don't you watch Netflix?" Don't actually need a TV for that. I do that on a phone or a computer. But Netflix is now TV.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't have one of those square things that plugs in and you watch stuff on it. Haven't had one for a long time.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I found it was stopping conversation at home.
Isn't that the beauty of it?
Yeah, so we threw it out, got rid of it. And who are you? How long have you lived here? It was quite a surprise. Pleasant one, but
What
still
do
a
you do with
surprise.
it on the of an evening then?
I really have come to enjoy listening to radio.
Oh, really? Yeah.
There's some great comedy on radio. And obviously I do watch movies through streaming services such as the one you mentioned. Other brands are available, not Swan.
Not yet.
So, and reading, but actually talking. So, yeah, I've found a whole bunch of stuff out about my wife that I perhaps wouldn't have known, which is
Amazing.
worrying, really. That I wouldn't have known it. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that sort of stuff. So, what was the question? Film or what? Oh, my
TV
favourite
series.
film.
Oh no, TV series or film it was.
Yeah, no. TV series. It's not really a TV series. It was, I think, an Amazon or an HBO. I really enjoyed the very first True Detective series.
Oh, amazing, wasn't it?
That was amazing on TV. But in terms of my favourite film, that has got to be Uncle Buck.
Classic.
It's just my sense of humour, which
It's a brilliant film.
isn't very good. I can see faces on the crew. Uncle Buck, what's that? Anyone know that movie?
Everyone's seen Uncle Buck, yeah.
No. See? Told you. Have to say that was the same person that didn't know about black plastic.
John Candy probably one of the greatest comedy actors of all time.
Very.
I think any of his films have been brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going off on a tangent, but who cares?
Yeah, no, it's good though,
I like
isn't
films. Planes, Trains and Automobiles
That was
always makes
brilliant.
me laugh.
Yeah.
Because Steve Martin's always the funny guy.
Yeah.
It's actually, he's the straight guy in it for a change. It's actually really, really good, that.
Yeah.
There was something. I had an interesting fact about John Candy. Wasn't he going to?
Not another interesting fact.
Again, I'll probably
Facts
pull
by
up on
David.
I know. Yeah, that'll be the new podcast. That'll be the spin-off podcast. He was in line to play something before he died. It was quite famous. I can't remember what it was now. It might have been the Flintstones or something like that, because it ended up being John Goodman, I think.
I think somebody said in a film once. Not a classic anecdote, David, was it?
No. Anyway, we'll edit that one. Chinese tea or a chippy tea?
Chinese tea. Yeah,
Football or rugby?
football.
Minimalistic or what's the opposite?
Crowded, full of stuff. I know what you
It was
mean.
Maximalist.
Maximalist.
Yeah. Only, and I've been.
I made it seem on camera as if I thought that, but I heard someone over
Oh,
there
did
say
you?
that
Yeah.
word, yes.
Yeah, because I.
Shouldn't really have said that, should I? Really?
There's
Brad
that,
Pitt wouldn't have said that.
There's the interior design show that's just finished that I quite like watching. And somebody was quite maximalist in that as well. It was quite.
Right.
I think they were doing like, let's say, bougie style hotels and stuff, so it sort of made sense. But anyway, yeah, your question.
I'm apparently, don't agree, but apparently I'm OCD about things being put away in their. I hate clutter. I don't know if I'm doing it from a minimalist viewpoint, just that I hate untidiness. This table in front of us is driving me nuts. I quite enjoy this bit of it. Order, everything in its place, being displayed nicely.
Yeah.
This Graham needs to come back and deal with this fairly swiftly. Yeah, so yes, minimalist in that sense.
Are you spicy food or plain food?
Spicy food.
One of the questions I was going to ask you about the trends actually just popped back into my head.
So we stop playing games then.
Yeah, no, we'll come back to the games in a minute, but just
Make the rules
would-
up as you go along.
No,
why don't
sorry.
you? It's your podcast.
avocado sweets in your bathroom.
Yeah, 70s.
Yeah. Will that ever come back, do you think? Because everything's been white in the bathroom for such a long time now, hasn't it? Since the death of that. I remember my parents having a grey suite, grey bath, grey sink and everything in the 90s. But since then, everything's been very, very white, hasn't it? Will
Yeah,
that
I
come
think perhaps the colour will come through accessories and the texture will come through
Yeah.
accessories and things like that, more than the actual bathroom suite itself, probably.
Yeah.
Avocado coming back.
It's green. Everyone loves an avocado now.
Yeah, but even under 40s, I know just the other side.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry.
Even under 40s joke about avocados, and they never even saw them. So, would you choose one? Not really. I don't know. Maybe you might.
Just, I guess, if you lived in Shoreditch or something like that and you're trying to be a bit edgy, I don't know.
Let's hope this does not shine Shoreditch.
Right, so now, got another game for you. Fact or fiction?
Okay.
Camels have 3 sets of eyelids.
Fact.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Makes sense, doesn't it, really?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that sand and stuff like
Exactly,
that.
yeah, for the sand.
I guess they must be able to still see through the first two.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm
Who
guessing.
wrote these? Has anyone got any more information?
It's just for the sand, the amount of sand, they've got 3 sets of eyelids. So
Did they all
it's
go
like,
the same way?
Yeah, so it's like shields from the sand.
Yeah,
Like
see?
stacked.
Wow.
It's just almost like wearing a baseball cap or
Yeah.
like glasses or something, yeah?
Yeah.
You've put in...
Who knew that?
I know, yeah. So I think this was done on a previous one. Ketchup was once sold as a medicine.
Ketchup was once sold as a medicine. It's full of sugar, so that stands. Yeah, I say yes.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah.
Nearly 3% of the ice in the Antarctic glaciers is penguin urine.
I'd so love that to be true because that's going to be. I remember that one. Yes, yes,
Fact.
it is a fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Where have you dug that up from?
Cool.
All sorts
What were you
of sounds.
Googling?
That is brilliant.
Don't ask.
I like that.
A snail can sleep for 3 months.
It's about time we had a false. No, I don't think that's true.
Yeah, that's what I'd have done. It is, it's fiction. They can actually sleep for up to 3 years.
I knew that.
If you add the two numbers on the opposite sides of the dice together, the answer is always 7.
I've now got to reveal something else. You see, I don't have a telly. I hate games.
Halfway through a game.
No, this is okay. It's all right. I don't board games and stuff. I hate them.
If you don't have a telly, then you have no expectation of what a quiz show is. So this.
The sad thing is, the reason I hate them is I'm really good at cheating, and everyone hates that. So I stopped
I'm
playing.
a really good cheater.
I'm really good at it. I am. I don't know why. I just am.
So yeah, you need to try the scone. Scone's excellent. Is it a scone or a scone for you? This is what we always ask people having.
I always call them scones, but Victoria, who's from Liverpool, calls them scones, and she talks about odd things like baps
Yes.
and balms and
A bread roll, you mean?
yeah, instead of a sandwich and a bread roll. What are we talking? Yeah, patties. Don't know what they are either, but anyway. So scones. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you need to give it a try.
I've got a few short answers in my pocket. I'll try and deliver one of those.
And I'm sure one of the jokes you get asked all the time as being a trend person is lottery numbers, yeah?
Ah,
People must ask you that all the time, surely. Do they?
they'd stopped.
Did they, yeah?
No.
It's just popped in my head, it wasn't written down.
In fairness, it is an obvious joke, isn't it? It is an obvious thing to say.
Yeah.
I'm much more polite in my response than
Most.
some of the other team members we've got.
Yeah. So this game is called Would You Rather. So would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great-great-grandchildren or your family in the future?
Future.
Even though you know what's happening already.
Not that far ahead. The future. I've because, and it's partly helped by the job that I do.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to join in. Let's put it that way. The future's really positive, and that isn't to say the past hasn't been positive, but it's positive and exciting. And
There's hope with the future.
I want to have a robot friend, and they're going to exist one day. I want to have one. So yeah, go into the future, I think, would be a much better thing to do.
There's a film that my kids made me watch at the weekend. I wanted to watch it as well. It's called Ron's Gone Wrong. It's on Disney.
Right.
And it came out during the pandemic, and obviously didn't do particularly well because of the cinemas and all that kind of stuff. But it's almost like a waist height Tamagotchi that's social media as well, and all the kids at school get them, and this poor lad can't afford one and his family can't afford one, so they buy one that's fallen off the back of a lorry, literally, but it's got something wrong with its code, hence Ron's Gone Wrong. So
Right.
he's trying to explain it to it with no algorithm what it should be doing, and it's just all over the place. Very, very funny, really funny take on what potentially the future is going to be like with social media and stuff. But he's brilliant, and he says, you should be doing friend requests. So this little robot makes these stickers, and he goes into school and he's just slapping friend requests on all these people because he doesn't understand the social media thing. It's honestly very interesting. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Ron's
I'll
Gone
look
Wrong.
that one up.
Yeah.
I've just could you excuse me a minute? I've just got to say to camera that if anyone at home saw me eating that scone, it's not actually a scone either. It's chickpeas, and the cream is made of some other vegetable, but it's all very healthy. Sorry.
It's nice though, isn't it?
They're horrible.
Have we got any more coming?
Yeah. Get Graham.
Yeah, I need to try. Keep trying it. Yeah.
Graham's quite famous, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life?
Ooh. Pause. A pause button, yeah.
Because you're very content, are you, in your life right now, do you think?
I think I'm the happiest I've ever been. Revealed on camera.
Just
Just for David of Swan.
That definitely needs to be edited up as a clip, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm really, really happy. Maybe because I don't have any. Money's just a made-up thing, and it's
People assume it brings happiness.
Yeah, those kinds of things, and we all see actually. How many times have you heard somebody say, if it isn't yourself, "Oh, it doesn't matter how much money, it can't buy you happiness," but actually it can't.
Yeah.
And I would like to have more money, because having more money, what it does,
Gives you options.
it gives you options, and options reduces stress.
Yeah.
So for many of us, stress, a lot of it comes through this made-up stuff called money that we don't have enough of. And if we could all just find a way of trading things again, it's not going to happen, of course, because it's not going to happen because so few people have so much.
Yes.
And they seem to feel they need even more.
Yeah.
That the rest of us won't be allowed to come up with that new system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a survey done, again, probably another podcast I was listening to, and they said that they did these surveys, and it was with millionaires, and if you had 1 million, they wanted 2. If they had 2, they wanted 4. If they had 5, they wanted 10. And everyone's got that thing in their head. And I remember doing it in my 20s, going, if I just earned this much a year, I know I'd be happy. If I just earned... And the problem with that is you're always chasing something.
Yeah.
And you're never happy in the now.
Yeah.
And I think, again, listening to podcasts talking about all this kind of stuff really makes you stop and think and enjoy the present. Back to the pause button almost. If you can't enjoy the present...
Yeah. I think it's... I don't want to turn this into some sort of self-analysis or program, or be going with I don't like all those things about, here's a book on yoga and here's a book on self-betterment and all that sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with it, just not my thing. But I genuinely have put effort in over the last 5 years to just trying to be happy with whatever it is that I have.
Yeah. And where you are and all that.
Yeah. And then when I've started to do that, like now, this very, very moment, this morning, this time we've had, it's been quite a happy time.
Yeah.
We're at work. Are we at work? I don't know. I've forgotten. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of nice sandwiches and I've had a laugh. And sometimes you just do that and you disappear and you forget it.
Yeah.
Whereas I will make sure that I just sort of play it over in my mind when I leave, because it's a happy time.
Yes.
Even the people that are sat around us have had the odd smile. They've tried to resist it, but they couldn't. I think it's really, really important. So pause button, just to probably make sure I appreciated something in the right way.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern, is that sometimes that you meet somebody, a person, not things so much, or a creature of some sort, and that actually you think afterwards that didn't really show the right appreciation of that person, which probably didn't make them feel as good as I may have been able to make them feel. That's disappointing.
There was a great quote in a TV show, and it said something like, "I wish somebody told you that you were in the good old days."
Yeah.
And it's so true, isn't it? Because no one really realises that they're in the good old days. They refer back to it. Yeah. And no one ever actually feels like they're in it at the time.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, your memories are clouded anyway, aren't they? It's never really the true event. Over time, it becomes whatever it is in your head, doesn't it? So things get embellished or twisted or whatever. So
yeah. Swan and Happiness.
Yeah.
That could be the title of it. If you're going to call it anything, call it Swan and Happiness. Yeah. That'd be good.
Yeah. Would you rather be able to talk with the animals, Dr. Dolittle, or speak all foreign languages?
That's really difficult to choose between, isn't it? It would be pretty cool to talk to animals, because they must look at us sometimes and say some really funny things.
Yeah.
But being able to communicate with more people around the world, that would be brilliant too. Yeah. I think I'll talk to the animals, and I'll choose that because I know technology is coming up with the answer to me being able to talk to somebody in another language.
I saw that
on an instant thing.
I saw that in China probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Obviously, luckily we get to go over there a lot of sourcing trips, and there was a technical guy, English guy, having a conversation with a factory owner. Chinese didn't speak a word of English, and they were chatting to each other, sat opposite each other in a bar, just the two of them, through WeChat. So he would type in English to him.
Right.
WeChat would translate into Chinese.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely amazing. Getting hammered together in a bar.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That is brilliant. I think it's, and obviously it'd be really important if we could all just communicate better with everybody. We'd have a better understanding of everyone.
I think the difference is, though, it's understanding language, but there's also understanding cultures and stuff like that, because, again, luckily having gone to China quite a few times, there's this perception in the West of it being quite slow and backwards and all that kind of stuff, whereas some of the most advanced technology I've ever seen is happening in China, like you were saying before. So would you rather be stuck on a broken ski lift or stuck in a broken elevator?
Oh, that's everyone's worst nightmare in both, isn't it?
Yeah, neither are fun, are they?
No. Well, I don't know, but I can't imagine so.
We're about to find out in the elevator.
Yeah. I guess if I'm in a ski lift, I'm going to fall on snow, so I'll say I preferred that, because the other one didn't. I don't want to think about falling down a lift shaft. I just did. That was your fault.
So the last question here, and I think this...
Oh, is that the end?
Nearly, nearly. I feel like this, though, this gets different as you get older. So I'm assuming whoever's written this is in their 20s. It says, would you rather go for a movie or on your own or go to a restaurant on your own? And I feel that as you get older, you almost make peace a lot with that anyway. Because I don't think either of those would particularly bother me. Whereas probably in my 20s...
Do you need a friend? I'll be your friend. Yeah. I'm quite happy to be your friend, David. You've come across very well in this.
Thank you very much. I do try it. This is my 4th attempt at this now.
Yeah. Would I like to go to... Yeah. I'm actually happy with my own company. Yeah. But not in public. That's weird, isn't it?
Really, yeah?
Yeah. That's almost like saying... No one's happy with me in public. Anyway, so I'm great with me in a private space. So I don't think I'd like to go to a restaurant. I used to travel a lot for business in my youth. I used to travel a lot on my own, stay in hotels a lot, and I hated meal times. Yeah, absolutely hated it. So
it does depend on where you are.
I don't want to play that bit of that game.
Okay, but I think it does depend where you are in the world. I think if in the UK, for whatever reason, eating on your own or whatever has almost like a stigma to it. But again, being in Hong Kong and all that kind of stuff, again, you're travelling on your own. You just get to a point where you just think, who cares? Like, no one's even noticing anyway. No one notices you. So I think it's all the stuff that's in your head, isn't it? So I feel like we've got quite deep on this talk, haven't we?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm worried about what people think or see. I just don't think it's very much fun. I've heard all my jokes. More than once.
Yeah. They're getting a bit tired.
Sat there at the table telling myself my old jokes again. Brilliant.
On the afternoon tea then, what would you rate it out of 10? I know we've not finished it all, but we'll have to wrap up now and we'll finish these off camera. But what you've had so far, what would you rate it?
As
out of 10?
I thought it was
excellent.
Tea, I would rate that
with the setting and the ambiance, as Mickey Flanagan would say.
Go on then, Hilton 10.
Yeah,
nice. It's really, really nice.
It's been very nice, hasn't it? Yeah, like the view is absolutely. I don't think you can see it on the camera particularly well, but spectacular view of South Manchester from this side as well. So
it's quite a challenging view too.
Yeah,
it's looking down. But it's good. But that was very, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lastly, just to thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the Hilton. The Hilton been spectacular. Food's been excellent. 10 out of 10. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.